Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today in the shop we've got this 2011 GMC 2500, big 3/4 ton truck. And like many of these trucks, these big heavy trucks, when they get a few miles on them, the front suspension, steering pieces start to get a little bit of play in them, and that's the problem with this one. It's got a little too much play in the idler arm. It's got a little bit too much play in the pitman arm. So I'm going to show you how to change those out, and also the tie rod ends and the sway bar end links, because all of that's getting kind of wore out. I'm going to show you how easy it can be with the right tools and the right attitude to get these things done. So come along and let's get into it. So while we've got this sway bar kind of hanging out here, I think we'll take the opportunity to go ahead and remove this end link here. So it's 15mm nut on the back here and 15mm headed bolt down below, and we'll just buzz this sucker off of here. There we go. That just comes right out of the way. You can go ahead and just lift this up, leave it kind of hanging there, and we'll go ahead and replace these parts. So I got these new parts, the sway bar end links. These are a Dorman product. I thought, man, that looks heavy. They call them heavy duty, and it looks pretty heavy duty. Plus it's red, so it looks kind of cool. We're going to try and put these in here and see how this does. So the instructions say to make sure that this barrel nut, they call it, goes into the top through the sway bar end. So let's see how this goes. All right, something like that. So that has to come in from the top, and it says that you know, make sure that this is all in the position it is in. So we'll take it apart as they have given it to us. Yeah, we'll go ahead and try to keep these two together as well. Okay. Other thing that it says is there's this little sleeve, and that's supposed to be between these two bottom bushings. So it comes up in here. We'll go ahead and put our bottom bushing back in place, and then the washer, and this central sleeve here. Push that bushing back down. There we go. And then up top, we've got another washer and our bushing. And you see how the bushings are shaped kind of like a Lego man head or something like that. You want to make sure that these little nubs that go up or whatever go towards one another and towards whatever you're bolting it up through. So that goes there. Stay. I gotta go retrieve the piece I just dropped. Oh man. But here we go. All right, got her. And then this says that that metal sleeve should go down through our sway bar, and we will put it there. We'll try and get it started. This is a little different design. This upper part here is a nut. Kind of interesting. Looks like I'm going to have to hold that in some certain way. But there you go. So that's together. This gets tightened to 20 foot-pounds, it says in the instructions, and so I'll go ahead and do that later. But right now, we're going to leave things a little loosey-goosey, but that's how you put on new sway bar end links. No problem at all. And for this job, really, if you're just doing the sway bar end links, you don't really have to take the saddles down. You can leave that up there. Just lift this up out of the way and replace the end link. So this job is really easy, and something that will make a huge difference if your car bushings are boogered up. So we're ready to tighten up our stabilizer end link here. This is one of those new ones from Dorman, and I'm finding that this upper barrel nut, they call it, is easiest to hold with just a adjustable wrench or crescent wrench. And then down here, we're going to tighten up this bolt that goes all the way through to that nut. This is a 15mm. So let's hold this crescent up here, and then we're going to use our impact to buzz that 15mm tight. And you want to tighten these things up until you start to see some squish of these bushings on either side of the sway bar and the lower control arm here. So I'll show you what that looks like. You see I'm starting to squish down. There we go. That's good enough. This is supposed to be torqued down to 20 foot-pounds, so not very much. And now that our center drag link is all connected to pitman arm, idler arm, we'll go ahead and move out here and replace our outer tie rod ends. In order to get this thing off of here, we're going to have to loosen this jam nut that's used to extend and shrinken this distance for alignment. And so you're going to get yourself a 24 millimeter wrench, stick it on there, and this one is going to go towards the back, towards the cab. You can hold the inner tie rod. And all you got to do is just loosen it enough to where it is no longer grip and hold of this thing. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to disconnect our outer tie rod from the knuckle here, and then we're going to spin it off and spin a new one on. Next step in this process is going to be breaking this nut loose off of here, and it's a 21 millimeter. I'm going to use the impact, just make things a little easier, and hope that it go ahead and buzz it off. Hey, all right. So if you find that you're trying to take this off and the stud itself is spinning, you may have to hold that stud with a wrench or something like that to keep that from happening. We'll go ahead and now we'll try and separate our outer tie rod end from this knuckle. And there are tools to do that, or the easiest way, which I always like to show you guys the easy way, is to get your trusty hammer back again. Here it is. And we're going to strike this knuckle only. You don't want to strike that. You want to strike the knuckle right here. And that shock from hitting it with the hammer is going to loosen up the binding, the two parts there. So let's go ahead and get you situated so that you can see that. Make sure that we got you in frame, and I'll give it a few whacks here with the hammer, and it'll just fall out whenever it releases. Kind of an awkward angle, so I'm going to go ahead and move my wheel a little bit so that I get a better striking position. There we go. That way I can swing that hammer in here at a different angle. There we go. Well, it's on there good. So every once in a while, I'm going to give it a little tap up here. Just to kind of remind it what I want it to do. There we go. Took a little persuasion, but out she came. Now that it's released from the knuckle, you can kind of swing this out of the way, and we loosen this jam nut here so that we can spin this outer tie rod end off of the inner tie rod. And so you just hold the inner tie rod steady, and then you spin it and count how many spins it takes. There's 1 revolution, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 and a half. 27 and a half turns to remove the old one. That's how many turns it should take to put the new one on. All right, so we got our new part here, just the same as the old one. Again, we're going to go with Moog, really good heavy-duty brand for suspension parts. And we'll get it out of the bag here. And you can see that the new one is stiff as can be. You're not going to be moving that thing around, but look guys, this is why you replace them. They get wallered out over time, And even though it's got a grease fitting, and even though there's grease in there, these things just don't last forever. So good that we're replacing that. And we'll go ahead and take our new one and thread it on there just the same way that we took it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just about the same number of turns. And we'll go ahead and take this sucker and put it back where she goes. You can just rotate this thing. Now this is going to have to get a little bit more angle there. There we go. Oh, all right. And now we'll get our nut that came with it. This is another castellated nut. So it comes with the castellated nut and a cotter pin to hold it in. And then also a grease fitting that we will screw in down here. And then when we're done with all of this stuff, we'll grease all of these Zerk fittings. Go ahead and we'll do that here in a minute. I'll just set it there. We'll get this nut on top. You want to tighten this thing up to spec, and I'll leave the torque spec down below if I can find it. And then we're going to put our cotter pin in there to hold it in place. All right, we got that nice and tight. We got our cotter pin in there to secure it. Now we'll go ahead and finish up this side with its tie rod end and tighten this little jam nut. So again, 24 millimeter wrench, give it a good tightening. And then you want to not leave this bound over at an angle like that, but to just straighten it back up. You see, I'm not loosening that nut, I'm just using it to straighten this angle between my outer tie rod and knuckle.